Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my channel, God's Grace on Thee, sponsored by Angel Wallace Productions. Today we're getting into a new series entitled Tracking Down the Killer and Other Forms of Murder. It's all about our food product, and I think all of you will be most interested. So today is Sunday. It is the 2nd of February of 2025, and I started this at, well, let's just say we're starting this at 1 o'clock because this is the second recording that I'm doing. Okay, so I want to begin with the entry, or the introduction, excuse me. It's called Tracking Down the Killer and Other Forms of Murder. So let us begin. You laugh when one says of being deprived of daily bread. Let them eat cake in memory of Marie, the French great. And I would say that is a toss-up. Either or both is equal in killing Field's ability. The conspirator's plan goes far more fundamentally to the heart of your existence than you could ever have thought. And you are had in every known manner of deprivation and demineralization, from mind to body to soul. And it's been going on for zillions of years, folks. And lately you just don't know it. Most of you know it, a lot don't. And while you are reaching for that brass ring of lifestyle and junk food. Oh, I didn't mean at the fast food place. I mean in everything that you're eating. This volume honors the ones who came before and tried to get your attention. It is the most important one document you will ever read. And we'll begin with Chapter 1, Recording 1 Haton, Sunday, March 19, 1995. 7:47 a.m. year A, day 215. A gift is something given, but to be valid must be also be accepted. And the giving, accepting circle then becomes completed. A gift is anything from a thought to whatever physical you can conjure. Some gifts come from higher consciousness in order to defend or protect, or are simply to allow you to experience and appreciate or teach or learn whatever you accept. Often you do not know and cannot see the gift buried amongst the debris of that which is painful and among the faded memories, as the enemy would have you totally forget. We deal in memory recovery systems. We're making every effort to bring to your attention those things which are past and integrate them within that which is, so that you may move forward and onward in your quest for higher truth, experience, and knowledge. And I could lecture all day on the total perfection of a pinhead-sized flower, but I doubt it would do much for Mr. Snell, who awaits execution in only a few short days. So today we must leave the flower to God and the horticulturalists. In our quest for assistance, Mr. Snell and his death row awaiters of execution for the month of April, in Mr. Tucker's Arkansas silencer system, we have to face that which is beyond the obvious and supply you with answers as to why. We will do that today as we can, but first I have need of finishing this recent series of information writing so that all of you who would live in sanity might have options in knowledge of circumstances, intent of your enemy, which is in your own government, and the elite controllers, and what steps you can take to rectify damages thrust off upon you. Research for all I offer is available, and I can only touch the high points and give you resource and subject and other solutions to problems. People come forth and they make a whole life's work of studying and researching just a single facet of experience or an item. And I cannot do that. We have not the luxury. Dharma, for instance, not now knows a little bit about so many subjects that her mind wishes to park in neutral with the emergency brakes tightly locked. And with all things comes humor. However, as you witness and experience, enjoy it for its wonderment. Let me example. I have been writing and pounding on her and you for the past many days about such as beriberi and food intake and the established plan which succeeded by your enemies, the would-be kings of a one world order. There are two more elements just to the elite plans, and those factions are now at each other. And for you, however, you have to consider selves and how under massive pressures you can help self and loved ones. So day before yesterday, Dharma announced that she was starting a new plan of health recovery. So she marketed and came home with a fortune in fresh vegetables, chicken, beans, etc. Now we're going to make a little soup. Therefore, in the evening, into the slow cookers went the beans and the chicken for the slow and savory ingredients for this non-existent recipe. Then morning came, and we rode then back into the kitchen mid-morning to make bread with the whole grains of spelt along with sprouted spelt. Then back to the soup pot, interrupted only by the very necessities of a squirrel nesting under the wood box, which she assumed stuck because of the insistent chirping. And now the day is passing, and even with modern miracle equipment, in only 3 hours, she had everything into an 18-quart roaster oven. Only it was running over. The bread was pushing open the bakers, and there was nothing in the kitchen that was not now dirty and piled all over. By now, she was not caring much about health, except that between her ears. She was trying to get all this done because our precious Sandy and Jack T are due to have a baby on the 15th. And Granny is a hypnotherapist, and this is our delivery focus. And just as we're about to finish up the things for John's apartment, this is for you who follow John Schrofer. He is now in a small apartment where Patricia lives beyond the common wall with all the things you need for starting with nothing, zip, zero, and less. Well, he's beautifully outfitted right to the lazy boy chair he always wanted. And Patricia zipped him off to where she works, and he could putter for a few hours around the lamp assembly area. A new man. Lots of love, good food, galandriana and love, caring friends and love, and I don't think his ex-family is going to like it much from here on into their entrapment for the heinous things done unto John. At any rate, back to a healthy day. In the midst of almost making it through and looking forward to a cup of soup after the cleanup in an evening, yes indeed, you ladies know how it goes as the hours pass, of catching up on tapes and videos of which some 30 are piled up, waiting. Oops. EJ goes forth to check the birds and carry some grain, slips and sits atop his buckled foot and broke his leg, and will be laid up for weeks for all practical purposes. Do you see? Life is what happens while you are making those other plans. The story is not important, and the humor is obvious. Not to EJ, I must interject, but I just use this as an example so that you can see there are indeed lessons, but they are not great or monumental. And at each step through the day, you make choices. There are choices that you have to make and made. There's now enough soup for survival of the weakest, of all of them, for a month, and Doris has a wondrous expectation of getting exercise for 2 running up and down the stairs between offices and home. Now, did the incapacitation of 2EJ bear a lesson? Did it happen to prevent his doing other things that he had in mind? Again, only an example, for probably it meant he slipped and broke his leg. Nothing more, nothing less. However, when you do begin to think of possibilities, you'll find yourselves healing more quickly, doing away with self-pity, creating better ways of doing things under handicap, sharing that which you forget to share, because in wholeness, ones tend to absorb into their own directions and choices. And often you just need to stop and take stock of where you are and who you are. You are human and you break. You are human and the mind wearies from the load as you see that which is overwhelming, surging at you in overwhelming wonder. However, precious ones, in the first and the last, if you put your hand in the hand of the man from God, within God and within truth, no matter what the bombardment of any day, for that too shall pass, there is peace within, which allows the journey to move on and the heart to rejoice in the accomplishment of the experience and health status. This message journal is going to be printed in its most reasonable format, for it must reach as many as will hear and see. You think that your diet mongers, your Shape You directors, and your food expert teachers are showing you the way? No, they're not. You are becoming a planet of insane and deficient humanity. You have even crippled the animal and the plant life upon your place. And it is all a part of the now fulfillment of the plan. You are dying and becoming totally infirm by malnutrition, dude. In the real world, you can't even obtain that which you need, as the plan has worked its misery so well. Berry. Since most of this journal will be about berry and the various deficiencies of food as tampered with, we will give you a definition as presented to us, actually before we put to press the subject matter. That makes it all the more valuable and interesting, for great minds are getting on the same tracks. And Rick brought it to us, and I can't be sure who sent it originally. But the more interesting thing is that this little short write-up about berry comes from, of all things, Last Thought. Get this. The United States Army Institute for Military Assistance, the U.S. Army Special Forces Medical Handbook. And we're going to take this out of page 238. End of quote. Berry. Berry is caused by a deficiency in vitamin B1, which is hydrochloride, and other vitamins. And it's found in areas where the diet consists primarily of polished rice, white flour, other non-vitamin bearing foods. Increased need for vitamin B1, fever, high carbohydrate intake, or alcoholism may lead to deficiency. Now, on the onset, it's usually gradual with progressive weaknesses of the most used muscle groups, most commonly in the extensory muscles of the thigh. And in many instances, patients is unable to rise from the squatting position. In the kill box, Hatton states, now own up, readers, how many of you are in this kind of distress and just call it out of shape? Let's be honest. Atrophy of the muscle, most used. Sensory disturbances. Hyperesthesia or hyperesthesia usually appear at the same time but are usually less prominent. In severe cases, many muscle groups may be affected and you see flaccid paralysis. Muscular atrophy with or without evidence of cardiac enlargement and tachycardia. In the kill box, Hatton states, muscular dystrophy, multiple sclerosis, think about it, Alzheimer's, and other confusion and memory loss diseases. Elderly senile dementia, because the elderly usually don't eat, and if they do, it's wrong. It's the wrong food. I leave it to your assumptions and possibilities. Now, with a more serious form, the wet beriberi, the clinical picture is predominantly that of acute congestive heart failure with relatively little evidence of a nervous system involvement. The onset is frequently rapid and acute, and the marked edema may mask the presence of muscle atrophy. In the kill box, Hatton states, whole armies have been totally wiped out and continue to be by compromising circumstances in the battle areas, i.e., the Middle East Gulf, where there was heat, a lot of sweating, and add a little tormenting chemical spray and mist, and a few new strains of parasites and bacteria, and you have a slow and certain death with miserable loss of body functions of all kinds. Then soldiers return, and what they are fed in hospitals or in the general diets only enhances the factors attacking their bodies. Mystery diseases are no longer mysterious when you have a good eye and knowledge. Of course, you are not supposed to know, and worse, we are not supposed to tell. These are not just diseases, however. Of you, the to-be slaves, the elite are also now at stake, and due to the elite desire for the soft life and luxury, continue their own demise. However, they don't have to do much, and the more insane and mentally twisted they are, the more danger to humanity. You can know, however, that every time you see Clinton or any of these politicians shuffling along on their jogging runs, that there's lots more than meets the eye. Often Clinton is coming home from a jaunt in the proverbial hay somewhere and doesn't want Billy Ousery to know. In addition, for every hamburger you see him eat, he is fed supplements. It isn't enough, however, and the minds are quite feeble. Another use for the drug, such as cocaine, is to enhance the desire for sex. For with a bad and deficient diet, the last thing the body wants is the joy of sex. I got a headache. I'm too tired. Now, vitamin B1, which is thiamine, deficiency is beriberi. Differential diagnosis: tabes dorsalis, post-diphtheritic paralysis and acute heart failure resulting from other causes. Thiamine hydrochloride, 20 to 50 milligrams orally, IV or IM. IV meaning the veins and IM being the muscle. In divided doses daily by 2 weeks. Then 10 milligrams TID, well-balanced diet of 2,500 to 4,500 calories a day when tolerated. The prognosis: recovery is rapid and complete in infants and small children. However, recovery is slow in adults, and there may be permanent disabilities such as muscle weaknesses or flaccid paralysis due to nerve cell degeneration. In the acute form of wet beriberi, deaths are frequent. End of quoting. So please keep in mind, the above is from Basic Field Type Manual, but it does recognize the acute nature of this beast. The cure or the ongoing treatment is totally ignored, and for obvious reasons, right? Number one, in the Army, you can't choose nice whole grain bread, and there are no such health rations around. Note further that the treatment demands IV and IM injections. And you, the people, don't have that until you are hospitalized, and you won't be getting vitamins. You'll be further deprived of nutritional treatment as a matter of fact. Then the worse, the patient gets the worse, becomes the food allowed while the doctors treat everything except the actual problem. Is it their fault? Yes, but not directly. For example, they only do what their professors tell them to and get almost no nutritional centered classes. Dietitians may well get more information in training, but the hospital's budget for giving foodstuffs and that ends that. And the next point in civilian society is to keep you pushed for a higher and better lifestyle, to the point that there's no way to make ends meet without everybody working. Are we all on board on this one right now? When that happens, just to survive, you give up something. It is food preparation and balanced meals that you forfeit for quick foods, no work foods. And working parents simply do not have 4 hours or 4 days to make soup. You may well have ability now to put a bread mix into a bread maker, but you're only making the same ingredients which have no nutritional value. And yes, I do know you're caught between the proverbial rock and hard place. Actually, you're caught between the devil and Satan. God of light has long ago been weeded out of your garden of nutrition. And the hazards of TV. In fact, I marvel at the haphazard way you accept this treatment while begging for more. You watch O.J. Simpson trials and watch them lie, cheat, and find 37 different non-evident possibilities of anything, much less the murder of 2 people. And most people are so bored they simply complain about missing the soaps. And what about those soaps? There you learn 37 different ways to cheat on your spouse with every loose and brainless other of any or all sexes in the middle of the afternoon, when you could be baking whole grain bread. And there's the other choice for an afternoon TV break, the talk shows. Now, if there's any intelligence around it, it's not often shown, right? Even by the hosts. So when Phil Donahue made it to hosting Larry King Live last week, you should have noted the circle closing for total disinformation. And when you can watch 3 lawyers arguing on Larry King Live over who lies the most and who is responsible for the most lies, and thus and so, you can be sure the closed circle enclosed brains. Now, are we getting any results from these writings? Yes. In fact, one, my dear, and faithful and very close reader called in to cancel contact. I believe this was due to some input from Grandma or about Jackson or something or other in this soap opera. Good luck, humanity. You sure do need a lot of it. And when are you going to realize that you have reached Arthur Clarke's childhood's end and the overlords of both teams are around? One's pushing you into the mental maze of existence, and we're trying to get you to awaken from that hazy confusion to see what lurks around you. In fact, if you read Clarke's Childhood's End, you'll have to conclude that the overlords have overlords. And another observation I receive is that, well, the bunch around you have all the advantages. And what advantages would that be? All the ones I see, including Dharma's folk, even if they don't think her nuts, find out what is offered to be far too much of a bother, if nothing else. And one in-law is just a born-again Mormon temple attendee, and that family's fallen apart. The spouse of that one is far more interested in jet skis than whole wheat berries. And then there are the others who just try to make it, not the least of which is with parents who cause the cops and everyone to watch every move they make. Example, Kardashians, right? Then there's the alcoholic, or 4 in all of them, which totally twisted the views of sex, priorities, and what have you. Does that sound typical? Well, indeed. Be damned if you do and be damned if you don't. Then there are the friends and the relatives who have served in high places, military, security, and thus and so. These ones don't dare even make contact. and some have actually been replaced in this instance. What do you really know about your own relatives? What, in fact, do you really know about what you have done all these years before? When did you start to really learn what is actually going on and how? A lot of the ones that are serving here didn't blink an eye in serious effort until like 7 years ago. And they're still shocked with each passing day. But who in their right mind would ever guess a world could be conquered simply by removing the bran from the grain? And who would even guess, who could guess that the world would fall to evil by the placement of a few tamperings in the instruction book of rules? But all in all, I can only pray that you will find this journal worthy of notice and possibly worthy of giving some of the ideas a try. And if not, I apologize for diverting attention from the James Bond intrigue around you. I can hear it now. Well, white bread is better than no bread, and all the bread is really alike, and besides, I can't afford all that special stuff. Well, you can have several loads of food for the price of a garbage motion picture these days. It's all in the responsibility and priorities. Yeah, my blessings either way. But one day your children will rise up to smite you for your neglect in the name of love. So is white bread better than no bread? No. No. To fill the stomach with garbage is in the long run no more worthy than feeding pure garbage and violence to your mind. The body will act out the sick mentality of that deprived mind, and ones will wring their hands and say, "Oh, he, she was such a nice person." Ah, indeed. Gergo set his hat on.